Well, good evening. Welcome to the fourth Hawk Talk of the year, and thank you for joining us. As you may have noticed, we are recording this session, just like all of them, and we ask you to keep your cameras off and your microphones muted. It helps preserve the Wi-Fi for a lot of people. As this session proceeds, if you could use the chat feature, that will allow us to address all of your questions. And at the end of the session, we'll stick around for any other personal questions. And at that time, you're certainly welcome to turn on your cameras and your microphones. So we have some other people joining us. My name is Kathy Langen-Pusiker. I'm the Director of New Student Transitions. I'm also an adjunct faculty member in management. I am joined this evening by Rob Maddox, Director of the Office of Student Financial Assistance. Thank you for joining us, Rob.
Glad to be here.
And Mary Dorsey is my wonderful technology backup. She's going to accept you into the sessions, and if you get booted out, she'll let you back in. And once again, we're going to ask you to turn off your cameras and your mics. Our goals for this session today are to provide you with information about how to pay for college and all the processes that you have to complete each year. So we will get started with introductions. Rob, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. As mentioned, thank you, Kathy. I'm Rob Maddox. I'm the Director of the Office of Student Financial Assistance at St. Mary's. And not only that, I've been here, I worked in admissions for about 6.5 years before making the transition over to financial aid. I'm also an alum, so I've been here all together. It's a little crazy for me. I'm just shy of 20 years at St. Mary's, both as a student and a staff member. I do actually, along with Kathy and a few others on campus, teach one of the intro first year courses, one of the core courses with the Career Development Center. And so I get to see a lot of new faces each year, which is a lot of fun. But really the session this evening is all about next steps, what you should be thinking about, some possibilities and ways that you can go through and cover what are the charges, tuition, fees, housing, meals, all that good stuff that you're going to see on the student portal. And I will actually go through and show you a little bit kind of from my side, the financial aid side of the student portal, to give an idea of what you can, when you do get in there, you'll have an idea of what it is you'll need to be doing and how to do all of those different bits and pieces. And so I will, if we're ready to begin, really just jump into, who and what is the Office of Student Financial Assistance. And we are here to guide you through the process, because we understand that college is expensive and there's lots of different things at play and lots of different ways that students and families can cover those costs. And it's our job to be your sounding board and your place for answers. And so there are a lot of, like I said, lots of pieces that go into it. And we always tell families, whatever works best for you is the best way to do it, because there is no one answer. There is no one way to go about it. It is a huge combination of different things that families can do to cover those costs, starting with the financial aid that many of you have received from us in the admission information, the admission packet. If you didn't have it then you got a letter saying that we don't have a FAFSA from you yet. So we'll get that into us and we'll put together a financial aid package for you. Even if you didn't file a FAFSA and you were offered a scholarship, that's great. That's really not a whole lot more that you need to do at that point. We've taken care of the hard work for you there. But the Student Financial Assistance Office has a staff for, including myself. We do employ a couple of students, but we have our staff kind of specialize, if you will, in different areas of the different processes. And so we have one staff member who focuses on the student loan programs. We have another staff member that focuses on the Maryland state programs. We have another staff member that focuses on the work study programs and a few other things there in between, and other things that you have to take care of as a student, as a family as well. So if you send an email to the main OSFA email box, it will get funneled to the right person to give you the best answer that is the expert in the office on those programs.
Okay.
And sorry, go ahead.
Can I
Kathy.
ask you to repeat, what is that email address again? And do you want to put it in the chat, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. I will throw it in the chat. It is osfa@smcm.edu, and it is the Office of Student Financial Assistance. And there we go. So any questions you have about anything, we are my staff has been really good, especially over the pandemic. We're all working from home, have kept up with everything. And I go in and check every once in a while, and the mailbox is always empty. Questions are answered by the end of the workday in most cases. And so they may forward it on to me, which it might take me a little bit longer to get an answer to you. But certainly they're good about being sure that you have the information that you need. And of course, we know that this time of year is not only hectic, but everyone's excited. Everyone wants to have the things done right away. But unfortunately, there are some things we just have to wait on. So there are a few things that we'll talk about. Actually, there's really the one big one. And so from the business office and how we differ from the business office as financial aid is we handle aid programs that will be dispersed to your student account. The student account, the charges, the payments, all that goes through the business office. So if there's any questions about the account itself, that will be through the student accounts and the business offices to gather any additional information or have any clarification. Of course, if it's something simple like what is the tuition amount for the year, we can certainly answer those questions. But if it gets a little deeper into why a charge is where it is or what a charge is, then we may very well send you over to student accounts to have them better explain those different things for you.
So if families don't want to email you, how else can they connect with your office?
Every email that we send out, and every one of you should have received an email from us just last week. The office has a phone number you can call. We have our email. We have a live chat function where staff will be live back and forth with an instant chat. Certainly stop by the office if you're on campus. We are not back on campus full time until July. But certainly by the time anybody's coming in for the orientation activities and things like that, we will be on campus full time there to answer any questions you have at any point.
So Rob, do you want to share your portal and show them the screen and exactly what they would need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned there's a few things that you need to do now or should be thinking about doing very soon. We ask that they be done by about mid-July. And the reason for that is the business office will actually post your bill for the fall semester on July 1st. That means that you should, at that point, if you have your housing contracts in, you have your meal plan selected, and you are going to be registering for courses, if not registered already, that July 1st, you will have a bill on your student account, and we need to figure out how that bill is going to be covered. So we ask that you start looking into those options and really get into what you have available to you. So I'm going to share my screen to give you an idea of what it is you'll be looking at from the portal. And so within the student portal, and this is a current student, I won't give away any private information or anything, but when you come into the student portal, this is the homepage that you will see. You log in at the very top, the top corner. But when you log in, and you'll see your home, My Academics, which is where students can register for classes. They can see their grades. They can do all kinds of fun stuff there. And then My Student Account will be where you will actually see the student bill. Well, you will see the charges, the individual charges that are specific to tuition, fees, housing, meals, orientation, if you're going to have a car, a parking pass, everything will be there listed out, itemized within that student account. But what we're here to talk about is the My Financial Aid tab. And so My Financial Aid will actually get into everything that a student has available to them for the academic year to assist in covering that bill. And so as you can see here, there's not too many things on this student's financial aid availability for them, but it all works very much the same way. So this is a really simple example to show you. So as mentioned in the email that we sent out last week, all of the gift aid, all the money that we know you're going to take because it's a grant or a scholarship. It's free to you or free to the student to cover the costs of the education. We've already made it so you don't have to worry about that. It's going to disperse to your student account. It's going to be there as a credit. Nothing else has to happen. But those students that have a FAFSA on file, those students that we've put together a full financial assistance package for, you will see that you have to take action on the federal student loan options that are there, as well as if a student has work study. And all you really have to do at that point, if you're going to take the full amount, for instance, this student here, that $7,500 loan amount, this is a senior that we're looking at. So that's why they have a different amount that you have seen. But students that go in and they say, yes, I'm going to take that $7,500. I'm going to use it for my education. You click accept, you click submit, and it brings you to the page where everything that you've taken action on, and you can see right here, it says you've accepted it and you're going to confirm my aid. And not until you have hit the confirm button will you actually have taken action on your aid. And so you have to be sure you go through that two-step process to select, submit, and confirm your selections on that second page. So once you hit that, you'll be able to see that aid is pending on your student bill. It'll be there for you to be sure that you have that, and you can take that into account if you're going to be taking out a Parent Plus loan, or you're going to be using a payment plan and all that kind of good stuff as well. I'm not able to show you the My Student Account page because it does have some private information on it. But once you get into it, you'll be able to see, and it will make a pretty good sense. It's pretty user friendly in terms of how we go about doing all the different things there for that.
So Rob, you used a word that a lot of people might not be as familiar with. What is that FAFSA thing?
Sure. The free application for federal student aid, second only to the application for admission as the most important piece of form that you can have submitted for us. And that's really because that form opens up all the doors for all the different programs for aid and the eligibility for all those different programs, from, as we mentioned, the student loan programs to the parent loan programs to need-based grants and scholarships to Maryland state programs as well. So we hope that every family, and we feel as though we do a fairly good job of getting all that information out to families before they apply, as they're going through the application process. If we don't have one by the time they're admitted, letting them know they can still file a FAFSA. If you have not yet, you can still file a FAFSA for this coming year as well.
And where would they find that FAFSA form?
That's a great question and a wonderful segue. So I'm actually going to share my screen again. And we're going to take a look at the Federal Student Aid website, because this is where all these next steps are going to happen and where a lot of great information is kept for students and families. And so you can see here, studentaid.gov, pretty simple to remember. If you just Google student aid, I'm pretty sure it's the first or second link that pops up there. But this is where everything happens. And so from the very beginning of, you're applying for aid, you can see right there, you complete the FAFSA form. One thing you do have to do before you can fill out the FAFSA form, is get what's called a Federal Student Aid ID, or FSA ID. And so that's what you will use to log into the actual FAFSA form. Once you get into the FAFSA, and this is new. This virtual assistant is brand new for the feds as of the last 2 or 3 weeks, which actually I tried asking some difficult questions. It'll steer you in the right direction with those questions that you do have. So it's really cool that they're able to put that in there. But the FAFSA form, if you have not completed it yet, you can do it here. You'll have to have an FSA ID from the very beginning. But again, all of these different pieces, again, they've changed a lot and made it much more user-friendly for families and students to get into, to be able to fill all these forms out. But once you have the FAFSA, and for those of you that have already submitted and have that financial aid package for us, you'll see that as we saw in the portal, there are some next steps, and you'll receive additional information from us about that, not only in the email that you received, but we'll be mailing those out next week or two as well. So you will have them hard copy. But the continued process to be sure that students understand what they're doing, they're taking a loan, they'll have to pay it back, they understand how to complete the process. So when they leave school, when they graduate, what the next steps are for them. There are these continued responsibilities of the student to be sure that they have all these bits and pieces in place. And so as you can see here, a student that is going to take out a federal student loan program is required to complete a master promissory note that says, yes, I understand this is a loan. I promise to pay this back. Here is a reference in case you need to contact them. And so it's a pretty quick form, but really hoping that students understand everything that goes into it. And so you'll see here, there's one for the undergraduates and there's one for the parents, which we'll talk about in a second as well. And every student is also required to complete this entrance counseling. And this is that counseling that, again, students understand that as a loan, what it means, giving them some examples, and really walking them through all those steps for the process. Once those two are completed, then we're able to disperse that money and credit that money to that student's account for the academic year. The entrance counseling and the master promissory note are things that only need to be done once for those first-time borrowers. So if they take out a student loan their second, third, or fourth year, no worries, they don't have to do that again. They've been taken care of. We have those things on file. And I mentioned here the MPN for parents. So this actually has to do with what is called the Parent Plus loan. And many of you have seen that on the financial aid award notification letter. And it is asterisked because you have to actually apply for this loan to allow the federal government to review a quick credit history. It's a soft check, so it won't impact your credit score or anything like that along those lines. But you do have to apply for that each year that a parent or guardian will be taking out those funds for that Parent Plus loan. And again, they've put it all in one place. It's all very easy to find now. It used to be in 2 or 3 separate places. And so the Department of Education has really done a good job of bringing that all together for students and for families.
So that FAFSA, they have to fill out every year?
Yes, they do. The FAFSA is a form that is completed each year. You're going to come here. The FAFSA uses information on a prior year as of right now. So that means those students that are starting this coming fall 2021, it actually uses your 2019 tax information. So it's really important to understand that next year it'll use the 2020 tax information. As you can see here, this is a really important notice that they have put up as changes to your family's financial situation, because we all understand that COVID-19 and the pandemic and the way everyone's lives have changed, there has been some financial and economic impact for families. And there are things that we can do to help you with that. And so be sure you get in contact with us if you have any questions or thoughts and think maybe we can help you out. We will certainly look at everything that we can do to be sure that we can help you. And so that FAFSA is filed each year, and it uses that next year's information in terms of tax information, kind of current information in terms of household information and things like that. But it does need to be submitted each year. And one thing that is kind of really important, especially with those of you who will have children in college over the next couple of years. The Department of Education went through a pretty drastic change with one of the relief bills that was signed. The one that was signed, I believe it was December, made a change to the Department of Education and the FAFSA. So for not next fall, but the fall after. So for the fall 2023-24 academic year, the FAFSA will be completely new.
Wow, it'd be a lot to learn.
It's going to be really interesting because we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. So as we're trying to help families understand what this new process will be, we have no idea. So the Department of Ed has not given us a whole lot of information on that just yet. So as we do learn believe me, we will continue to be in contact with everyone who is at St. Mary's and even not at St. Mary's as much as we can to be sure that everyone understands exactly how this process will change the next 2 years and how it's going to impact everyone. The good thing is it will become easier. It's going from about 120 questions on the FAFSA to about 30. So they're cutting it down significantly to hopefully make things a lot easier for students and families to have that submitted each year and get everything done that does need to be done. So.
Excellent. Now we have one student who direct messaged me wanting to know what happens and when does it have to happen by if I chose not to choose the FAFSA award and if I decide not to take the federal loan that was awarded to me.
Sure, that can be done at any time. So as soon as a student pays their deposit, within 24 hours, they have access to that student portal that we showed a little bit ago. And within that, all you have to do is hit the reject button and submit and confirm, and there's nothing else that you need to worry about. And if you do that now and change your mind and something changes, we can always reset it for you and you can take action on it then at that point as well. So nothing is really set in stone, but that is one of those things that we can't reject for you. We have to have that from you and say that you don't want that. But like I said, nothing's set in stone. We can always go back and fix it for you. We would like for it to be done as soon as possible. It does not need to be done at any particular time. I will say, if you do reject it, obviously you're not going to be taking any of that into account for the amount that is due on the bill at the end of July for the fall semester.
So what do you think is the most common problem you've seen for students and their families facing every year?
Communication. And I think it's really important that students and families understand that if they receive something from us, we're the office that no news is good news. So if you receive something from us, if it's a letter, if it's an email, if it's a reminder, to really take action on that as soon as possible, because as we have students kind of push things and put things off a little bit, it really kind of compounds the problem. So being sure that students and families are keeping up with those things. And it's a little tricky because with the rules that are in place with higher education and rights and privacy acts from the federal government and things like that, we do all of our communication directly to the student. And that is typically through that SMCM student email. So be sure that as a student and as a parent, you remind them to check that SMCM email because they're going to be getting a lot of really important information through that email all year, every year they're here.
Wow, thank you for that shout out for the SMCM email. Because
that's right.
We're kind of having a little bit of an issue with not enough of our students are signing in and making sure that they even have their advisement appointments for summer. And we think that they'd like to pick out their classes for the fall. So that might be a really good idea if they start reading their SMCM email accounts and reaching out to their advisors. Also, they have some other instructions in there that would be very useful to you if you continue to check your SMCM emails on a regular basis. So What other questions do all of you have to Rob or the rest of us? Aha, looks like
Could I throw a tidbit in?
Sorry, Mary?
Could I throw a tidbit in?
Oh, please do.
So Rob, when families are doing the payment plan, am I correct that the first payment is due July 1st?
July 5th.
And
so it'll be the 5th of each month. And so the payment plan is something that families can set up with the business office through a third-party vendor that we work with that will actually, the families will sign up for whatever amount they choose. So you can set your payment plan for whatever amount you need to cover the bill. Or a portion of the bill, however that may work for you. And it splits that amount into 5 equal payments over the semester. And so you'll have to do that each term you'd like to use that payment plan. And it really does, I think, make it easier. And it does help, of course, spread that cost out over a short period of time as opposed to all being due right in July.
So you would probably recommend that they look into that sooner if they're going to use it, because otherwise, if you wait until July, then you'll have 2 payments due in August, right?
So you will, it depends on when you sign up, but yeah, so if you sign up in late July, there'll be that first payment due and the next payment due right after on August 5th. And if you wait and it's a little bit later and you do it in August, then those first 2 payments will be due right there as soon as you sign up.
So one of our participants says, I'm not sure what I'm looking at for the financial aid. There is direct and unsubsidized with dollar amounts next to each. So what are these things?
So within the federal rules and regs and what we're able to offer to students in terms of those loan programs, the 2 types of loans that we can offer the student directly are those, as mentioned, the subsidized and unsubsidized student loans. So the biggest difference between the 2 is the fact that the subsidized student loan, your student must have financial need to be eligible for that, and that the interest on that loan is subsidized as long as the student is enrolled at least half-time in school. And so half-time is 6 credit hours per semester. All of our students who are full-time students are enrolled for more than that. So any student who maintains full-time enrollment will have that interest subsidized for them for the time that they're enrolled in school, which means it won't accrue on that balance. On the other hand, the unsubsidized student loan, every student who files the FAFSA is eligible for that. And the interest does accrue while they're in school. The key to both of these, same for both of them, is no payments are due on these loans until 6 months after a student finishes. And so once they leave, they have those 6 months to get on their feet and at that point start making payments on those loans. But that interest will accrue and add on to that principal amount each month that they're enrolled, not necessarily required to make payments. So that principal amount will grow to when they start actually making payments on those student loans. The dollar amounts that you see there is the maximum allowed amount that we are able to offer a student based on their grade level. So a first-year student can receive $5,500 per academic year in federal direct loan funding. That is the maximum amount that we can offer to a student. And so you'll see there it's actually split out, and it gives you the fall amount, the spring amount, and the total within the student portal.
So one of our guests has asked if we received a guaranteed access grant from the state of Maryland, where and how do we access that money?
Excuse me. I'm glad you asked. That is a wonderful program for low-income students, and the ability for you to receive that money is dependent on really one very important thing. Again, you check the email that you gave to MHAC. Because they will send out instructions to you, and they are very strict with their guidelines. You have 2 weeks from the time that they notify you of being awarded the funding to go into the MD-CAPS portal and accept your funding and tell them where you're going to school. If you do not, they will take it away and they will give it to someone else, and they will not give it back. So it's really important that you go into that MD-CAPS portal and accept that funding as soon as you find out you've been awarded. So hopefully you've done that. And as soon as we are able to, and it's typically the first week of July, we're able to actually download the rosters from the Maryland Higher Education Commission to put that aid on your student account here at St. Mary's. And so because they're still finalizing who's receiving, thank you, Mary, who's receiving things, what amounts they're receiving, the different kind of programs they're receiving funding from, we have to wait until, like I said, usually that first week of July to be able to load those awards in for the students.
So we have a parent asking, is there a way to access the portal to pay the bill, or is that only through the student's account and password?
I don't believe we have a full parent portal set up. So students, you will have to log in there with your parents to go through and make those payments on your student accounts.
Or give them your email and password, but it's best if parents and students do that together so that students recognize the responsibility and of getting such wonderful support from their families. How do you set up a payment from a CHET, C-H-E-T?
I don't know what that is. I'm not sure.
Let's see if Joe would like to ask that. Or what is a CHET?
Connecticut Higher Education
Ah.
account, 529 College Savings Plan.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Wonderful. Learn something new. Look at that.
Connecticut Higher Education Trust.
Yes. So all of that, you'll actually work directly with the business office, and the business office will, in many cases, send a statement to the trust or the 529, or they'll bill the 529. It depends on exactly how that 529 works. If it's going to be full tuition, if it's going to be partial, if there's a certain amount each year, whatever the case may be. So you need to get in contact with them specifically and figure out what they need from us to be able to send that funding to St. Mary's. And so it'll go, it surpasses our office. It goes directly to the student accounts business office to be a direct credit on the student account.
So how much is the interest on the direct subsidized loan?
Both the subsidized and unsubsidized student loans are the same. And I have that. It just came out. So it does change from year to year. Congress and the Department of Ed set these rates for us. For loans that are dispersed after July 1 of this year, but prior to July 1 of next year, have a fixed interest rate of 3.73%, which you will not find one from a private lender that is better than that. In almost all cases. So we always recommend, if you're going to finance a portion of the cost of the education, the Department of Education should be your first step. If you can find something better elsewhere, absolutely use what you have available to you as resources, but this federal program should be your first look.
What other questions do you have for our guest? I know it's a lot of alphabet soup out there. It can get very confusing. So we don't mind bothering Rob and saying, Rob, what does this one mean?
Absolutely. And I will say, if you recall the piece that we sent out back in February, so it was a while ago, but there was a financial aid resources piece that we sent out that on the back cover of that does have a full glossary of terms for families, because it is a lot of anagram abbreviations and things like that that can make things a little bit confusing.
Yeah, and language like promissory notes at least can kind of sound it out. Oh, it means promise, right? So will you have eventually a parent portal set up, and what will it consist of? I can tell you that because of the federal laws about your rights to privacy, the Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act, FERPA is really pretty funny. So I don't think that that's coming anytime soon.
Yeah, those are tough.
But you can, I think you can, the parent could also call the business office, the student accounts office, and pay with a credit card, the balance. I think that's another way you can also pay a bill without having to get into the student's portal. But again, I liked what Kathy said about, it gives students some ownership and understanding, what they're getting into.
Yeah, so now we know that somebody'd like to pay for room and board, since that's not included on the portal financial aid page. How do they do it?
The financial aid page, so there's nothing there, like I said, so from the My Financial Aid section of the portal, that's just the aid that's offered to you. Within the My Student Accounts page, which, as I mentioned, I couldn't show you because there was some private information that was on there. Each individual charge will be listed. So as I mentioned, if you have the housing contract in, then housing knows the type of residence that you'll be living in. They'll know the type of meal plan that you will have and associate those charges to those different selections. You will see them all itemized out. It's not just going to be a lump sum charged to your student account. You will see each individual piece, from the tuition, the fees, the orientation fee, the housing, the meal plan. You'll see it all there with a total amount that is due for the semester.
Rob, do all 529 plans get set up with the business office?
Yes. Everything that is an outside payment coming from an entity like a 529, or if a student works or has VA benefits, those are handled outside of our office. And those are things that we as financial administrators are not, in some cases, privy to. We do know that some students will have 529s or will have VA benefits, but it's actually illegal for us to alter a financial package because we know they have those things. So part of that separation of duties from our side is to have someone from an outside office handle all of those different pieces.
So somebody's asking, did you say the students are only able to see their student financial aid section in the student portal only after making the down payment?
So that $500 deposit that a student makes or has had reduced or waived by filling out and submitting the request to the Office of Admission, you can see the financial aid information that's there before paying the deposit. You just can't do anything with it yet. So it is there. It does live there. You can see it. But once you pay the deposit, you have full access to the entire portal and you can start making those selections.
But I thought they couldn't get their email address activated too until they're deposited. So it's probably
Okay.
a trickle.
Right.
You got to deposit, then you get access to your task list, then you fill out and get your two-factor authentication, your email account, and then you get access to your portal.
There you go. Okay.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, that two-factor authentication is new for me. So
Yeah, we're all going to do that now, Rob.
I know.
It's actually really important. Unfortunately, the organization I was with previously, a number of people were not using their two-factor authentication and their paychecks got rerouted to somebody overseas. So it's really nice to have two-factor
Yikes.
authentication. Gosh. So another person says, so we are good enough for paying bills only. Oh gosh. I think parents are a lot more than paying bills. I think you're there for a lot of support. And again, working right next to your student and having them log in to understand your commitment to their success. I mean, going to college is a privilege, and students, you should recognize the privilege and thank your family members for their support. Next question was, does the financial aid, scholarship, and grants that we've been given by SMCM and by the state cover a room and a meal plan, or only just the tuition?
So everything that we have is not specific to a charge. So if you have something like a 529 that will pay 100% of tuition, or you have a benefit through work or whatever the case may be, our official stance is our scholarships, our grants are non-specific to any charge. They are a credit to your student account. So that means you can tell them that, no, the scholarship does not cover tuition, it covers room and board, or vice versa. So it really does just show as a credit to your student account. It's nothing specific.
Any other questions this evening? I know these are great questions, and it's very helpful when you ask the questions for everybody to see and understand, you know, you're all in the same boat.
Yeah. There's a question about work study and other campus jobs from one of our
Sure.
guests.
Yeah, the students, you will know if you're eligible for the federal work study program because it was included as a part of your financial assistance package. But worry not if it was not included. The vast majority of our students that work on campus work outside of the federal work study program. Each year, well, I should say under a normal year, we have about 100 students that work through the federal work study program and about another 400 to 500 students that just work on campus. And so we have somewhere around 600 students a year that are employed on campus, everything from academic departments to offices, to the bookstore, the athletic and recreation center, the waterfront. There are just jobs across campus from very different kind of working perspectives, to the point where we need someone to take care of the cages in the behavior lab for the mice. We need someone to be sure that students are following the rules at the waterfront. We hire students as our kind of front desk staff to handle, folks that come in the office and be sure we can answer their questions and all that good stuff.
We're looking to hire a bunch of lifeguards right now so that we can all
Yes.
enjoy the inside pool. The Career Development Center Hawk Talk was last week. And if you didn't get a chance to see it, you can certainly go to the homepage for new students, or just look up Hawk Talks SMCM and then learn more about how you can find jobs on campus, because the Career Development Center has lots and lots of opportunities, and they act as your matchmaker and can help you out. Does the financial aid scholarship and grants, oh, we already had that. If we wish to speak to somebody more specifically about our financial aid, do we email OSFA or make an appointment somewhere?
You can do either. There's actually, if you'd like, there's a couple of different places you can make an appointment, but we would suggest that you go through the applicant portal, which is our Slate program, where you can actually select a time slot to meet and have a phone call, Zoom chat, whatever the case may be, for those questions. And Zoom is nice because, like I said, we can go through your stuff. We can show you exactly what everything looks like, if it's in the portal or otherwise. And if there's anything else that you may need to do, we can certainly talk to you about that as well. Or you can email us and we'll be back with an email, or give us a call. So absolutely, if you have questions or concerns, thoughts or ideas, definitely let us know.
Mary, do you see any more questions?
I don't see any more. I was just going to add information about Hire SMCM, which is the portal through which a student would find a non-work study job, and it's on this Career Development Center, or CDC, on their webpage. So I'll continue putting that.
So we are being asked, could you remind us when you would be available in person on campus to chat?
Yes, so our office will be back up and running. I will be there, my staff will be there July 6th. So right after the July 4th holiday. And yeah, if you're nearby, if you want to stop by the office, you're more than welcome. Just hit the doorbell button and we'll come let you in.
And this is a good question. How do you accept only part of a loan? You don't want the whole thing?
Yep, within that, where you hit accept, there is a blank box where you can put in a specific amount. But keep in mind that if you reduce, say you take the $3,500, it's there for the sub loan, and only want 2,000 of it, it will automatically split that for you between each session. So it will be 1,000 per session. So if you really wanted 2,000, or you really wanted 1,000 just for one semester, you have to put in 2,000. So just keep in mind, whatever amount you put in there is going to be split in half for each term.
What happens if they made a mistake?
Just email us, we'll fix it for you.
When should we pay our fall bill?
July 23rd. July 23rd is when bills are due. After that, the business office will start processing late fees. If the bill is not covered by the bill due date, they can put on, I think it's still $100, but it will be $50. I forget exactly what it is. It's tens of dollars that they will put onto your student account for not having the bill covered by the due date.
And if you forget any of this, we also have information about when the bills are all due. And it's part of that Blackboard course that you all are supposed to go through. All the students are supposed to go through, and parents could go through it as well with your students. You can always refer to it. It's one of the resources there from the business office. Mr. Tommy Cable provided that.
So I did see a question that popped in about setting up the payment plan. You'll see it abbreviated throughout the student account section of the student portal as the MPP. There is the very top piece there on the right-hand side with all the information and documents and things is where you'll find the information of actually signing up for and submitting your monthly payment plan. It's through CashNet is the partner that we have.
Great questions. Well, I think it looks like questions are kind of winding down. What I'll do is I'm going to stop the recording and we'll say goodbye to those people who have no other questions. I'll make one last plug that you really need to check your SMCM email and get those advisement appointments and work through the Blackboard and handle all of your tasks. We're all here to support you. And we really appreciate you joining us this evening. After I hit recording, if you wanted to do your mic and you wanted to ask Rob and the rest of us any questions, feel free to do so. For the rest of you, I wish you a great evening and thank you for joining us.